After quite a few confusions, the Thanjavur Temple Kumbhabhishekam has taken place. This brilliant piece of architecture is a pride of Tamil Nadu and a reminiscence of a golden era. For those who don't know much about the Thanjavur Periya Kovil, this video would help in learning a few facts about the temple and the King Rajaraja Cholan who built it. Thanjavur, also called as Tanjore, is a temple site in the Tamil Nadu region of southern India. Thanjavur was the capital of Chola kingdom, and the King Rajaraja Chola I was the one who commissioned the magnificent Brihadishwara temple in the early 11th century. Many other temples and shrines were also added over the centuries, making Thanjavur one of the most important and most visited historical sites in India today. Thanjavur is listed by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. The Emperor Arulmozhivarman, popularly known as Rajaraja Chola I, was a Lord Shiva devotee and laid the foundations of the Tanjore temple after he dreamt about it in Sri Lanka. The Brihadishwara temple was constructed between 995 and 1025 AD. Along with many other resources, a tribute from Sri Lanka was also used for the temple construction. This temple was the center of most festivals celebrated in the Chola kingdom, and it served as the center of economic and religious activities. Villages from the country provided human resources and material to maintain the temple. Built on the banks of the river Kaveri, this temple is made entirely of granite and it stands tall amidst fortified walls. The Gopuram of the temple reaches a height of 63 meters and it is the tallest temple building in India. The entire rectangular complex measures approximately 140 by 75 meters and it is surrounded by a wall with regular interior niches. Inside the compound are various secondary shrines and a monumental double gateway entrance, also known as Gopuras. The two-story Brihadishwara temple is built on a high platform. The granite tower, known as Vimanam, rises in 13 levels above the sacred Garbhagriha, which is approximately 200 feet. Garbhagriha means inner shrine. On the top of the Vimanam, there is a dome structure which rests on a single 7.7 meter dimensioned square granite block weighing around 80 tons. Placing the single rock at the top of the spire is an unexplained engineering feature even today. The Garbhagriha, where the Shivalingam is located, is known to create a large amount of electromagnetic energy. The 80-ton stone spire helps to conduit the energy inside the temple to keep its piety and spirituality. The positive energy beaming within the temple is said to have soothing and peaceful effect on the devotees. The building has a front entrance porch known as Mandapam with 36 columns, and there are two additional entrances at the base of the tower on each side. All three entrances are decorated with guardian figure sculptures and are approached by a richly carved monumental flight of stairs. The hundreds of niches of the exterior are decorated with sculpture of divine figures, especially Shiva and Devi, lion heads and fan shapes. The temple was laid out on a precise plan of 16 by 16 squares. This design is known as Padma Garbha Mandala in the Dravida architecture of southern India. The interior contains the typical passageway for worshippers to perform prayers by going around the shrines. The Garbhagriha contains a 4-meter tall Shivalinga. There is a Snapana platform too for the ritual bathing of the god, which is located within a portico Ardha Mandapa. Murals decorate the interior walls, and these include fine images of Rajaraja I, his spiritual advisor or guru, and his 3 queens. Other subjects include a Nataraja, which basically is Shiva as the lord of dance. Shiva was the clan deity or Kula Devam of the Cholas. Rajaraja Chola I and his son Rajendra Chola I filled the temple with bronze sculpture including images of the kings and their queens. Precious jewelry were hung upon those images. As indicated in inscriptions, the Cholas also paid for regular offerings of incense, food and flowers and ensured that the temple was well maintained by attendants and 400 dancing girls. Funds were also acquired by partitioning off the surrounding land, which would be controlled by priests, and the income used to upkeep the temple. In fact, the temple included accountants, merchants and administrators, and this created a model which was to be copied at other Indian temples. The Gopurams at Tanjavur are two huge monumental gateways which lead to the temple compound. The outer Gopuram on the eastern side of the complex has 5 stories and the inner ones has 3. Each Gopuram has a centrally positioned entrance giving access to a single 2-story chamber on each side of it. The Gopurams at Tanjavur are unique because each facade is not identical. In the outer facades, each have 2 large door guardians and figure sculpture in their many niches and large decorative fan shapes. The top of each Gopuram is crowned with a massive barrel vaulted roof. Other buildings in the compound included the Nandi Mandapam, which is located directly between the Gopurams and the Brihadishwara temple. It is the second largest Nandi carved out of a single stone in India. The dimensions of the Nandi is 5.94 by 2.51 by 3.66 meters. A later addition to the site is the Subramanya Shrine, built in 1750 AD. It is located at the opposite end to the Gopurams. The entire temple is built of 130,000 tons of granite. There was no quarry within a 100-kilometer radius of the temple site. The temple was built after Vedic structures built by Hindu kings in Sri Lanka. It is home to the largest Shivlingas in India. This tall temple tower is made by using interconnected stones without the use of building material, which is unheard of even today. The engineers are still baffled at how such a marvel was achieved in the 11th century. This is the only temple where the tower's shadow does not appear on the ground at noon. The deity was originally called Rajarajeshwar, which was later named Brihadishwara or the Great Ishwara during the Maratha rule. The temple is just not famous for its paintings and gigantic statues. It is noted for its beautiful architecture. 81 of 108 dancing positions of Bharatanatyam are carved in this temple. The temple was also famous for dancing. Trained dancers used to perform when there was an occasion. Now let's see some interesting facts about Rajaraja Cholan. Chola dynasty is one of the few dynasties which made its mark in the history of India. Rajaraja Chola I also belonged to the medieval Cholas and he was considered as the gem of all the kings. He was the third child of the king Parantaka Sundara Chola. His real name was Arulmozhivarman. He was also called as Rajaraja Shivapada Sekara, which translates into the king of kings who has Lord Shiva's feet as his crown. His adopted name is Rajaraja and it means king of kings. He was a very loving brother. It is said that to avenge the death of his brother Aditya Karikalan, he fought against Chera Kandalur and won. Rajaraja Cholan did not lose a single battle in his lifetime. After his elder brother Aditya Chola was assassinated, Uttama Chola was declared as the crown prince. Uttama Chola ruled for 15 years and after his death, Rajaraja Chola I was declared as the king unanimously through a democratic process which was followed by the Cholas. He ascended the throne in the year 985 AD and he was assisted by his sister Kundavai Peratayar in administration and management of temples. By the time Rajaraja Chola I ascended the throne, his father and grandfather had strengthened the dynasty in southern India. He made several successful conquests on the neighboring Cheran and Pandyan kingdoms and increased his kingdom's territories manifold. After conquering the whole of South India, he adopted a title of Mummudi Chola. He then concentrated on Sinhalese dynasty which was ruling Ceylon or present-day Sri Lanka. He defeated the Sinhalese ruler and then captured Anuradhapura, which was the capital city of Sinhalese dynasty, and occupied the northern part of the Ceylon, but southern part remained independent. To commemorate his victory in Ceylon, he built a Lord Shiva temple there. Later, his son Rajendra Chola conquered the entire Ceylon. He also conquered Kalinga and went beyond the Ganges and adopted the title Gangai Konda Chola. After all this, no one knows how he died. His death is still a mystery to historians. Like any other great king, he does not have a big mausoleum. The mausoleum that is shown now does not prove that it belongs to Rajaraja Chola I. It is not in Tanjore but in a remote village named Udayalur in Tamil Nadu. According to local people, the king was killed by a woman who was sent by the Sinhalese ruler Mahinda V. Since he failed to defeat Rajaraja Chola I, he sent a woman who became good friends with the Chola king. When the king was inspecting the progress of the Brihadishwara temple from the 8th floor, she pushed him down and he died. That is why they say that the temple was not finished properly, and that is also why his son Rajendra Chola shifted his capital city from Tanjore to Gangaikonda Cholapuram and seized complete Ceylon under his control and kept Mahinda V as a war prisoner till he died. The Chola period was an excellent time for Tamil country in terms of art, religion and literature. Taking the temple building tradition a step further, the Cholas built many Shiva temples using the Dravidian temple design along the banks of river Kaveri. The Cholas sculpted many bronze figures of Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu and Goddess Lakshmi. Chola period was a golden time for literature. During this era, not only did the Saiva and Vaishnava devotional literature flourish, but also Jain and Buddhist authors got the opportunity to display their talent. Thank you for the support. Stay connected with us for more such information. This is Nisha PS.